are moving on to the state playoffs as the number one seed. Very impressive job by them because getting the one seed, what it does is it keeps you away from your rival, and it also keeps you away from Independence, who is undefeated. We'll talk about that a little bit here coming up with our guest today, former First Colonial state championship winning field hockey coach. Beanie Schleicher will be our guest today. She'll be our scheduled guest that will talk about all the field hockey action with us. She's an area official now, used to coach at FC, won championships, won a lot of games when she coached at Maury as well before she got to FC. But very compelling matchup there as you have First Colonial and Cox on opposite sides of the bracket. It was the second time they've defeated Cox this year. And without further ado, before we get to the other championship games of note, it's time to announce that Il Giardino Chicken Parm Player of the Week winner. And who better than the one that scored the game winner, who's going to the Ohio State University. You see it right there on the screen right there for you. Grace Dixon. Look at the job she's done this year for First Colonial. 5 goals in postseason, heading to states, 25 goals in a 13-1 regular season, and a game-winning goal against the rival and the Ohio State commit. Job well done. We spoke with her and Megan Smart late in the regular season, and you could just get a sense that they were loose and, feeling good about their chances and confident but not cocky. So job well done for Grace, as she is the Il Giardino Chicken Parm Player of the Week to close out the regionals as we get ready for the next round of playoff action with the states. And Il Giardino offers Il Giardino offers veal, as in VEAL, chicken, pasta, seafood, vegetarian, and pizza creations that are all taste sensations. All their sauces are made from scratch, and every item is made to order. Add in the lively sounds from the expanded piano bar and lounge. It's no wonder why Il Giardino is such a popular local spot. To see the complete menu and find out more, including the hours of operation, all you got to do is go to ilgiardino.com. That is ILGIARDINO.com. Give them a call at 757-422-6464. That's 757-422-6464. And when you go to the website, you'll see that complete hours of operation, the menu, and it's located at 910 Atlantic Avenue in Virginia Beach. So once again, Grace Dixon, salute to her. Congrats. Just a very, very savvy young lady on the field, off the field, smart cookie as well. She is the latest Il Giardino Chicken Parm Player of the Week. So she gets that free dinner from Il Giardino. And we've had some good winners this year of that Chicken Parm, including Ella Elliott just the week before for Menchville. We had a couple of Norfolk Academy players and Joji Purdy, Lizzie Adams, who are going to Penn State and Columbia, respectively. Had, I think, Lily Johnson from Great Bridge, Ellis Cannon from Kellam High School, Parker Roll, Dixon's teammate, the goalie for First Colonial, who helped them win those 11 straight games and 10 shutouts in that first win over Cox, a triple overtime victory. In fact, she had the shutout in that triple overtime win. She's going to Georgetown. Cameron Butler from Kempsville. I think that rounds out the Chicken Parm Player of the Week recipients so far this year. But you had some other games of note, and the game in Chesapeake last Thursday, which featured Grassfield Western Branch, and that was one that I don't think we saw coming. Grassfield 1-0. Kaylin Fluker gets the goal. Remember, they lost a game late in the regular season. I think it was their finale to Kempsville. And Kaylee Hyman with the shutout, both going on to the state quarters. You'll see that their matchups scrolling across your ticker here as we move it along. And for Grassfield, obviously, it's a little bit of a trickier deal. I think Yorktown's not too shabby, although Western Branch taking on Oakton, that's the higher-ranked team and maybe the favorite to win the Class 6 title. So you do wonder for both of those teams out of Chesapeake if they will move on in the states and continue winning. You had some games where Nansemond River won comfortably by double-digit goals against Woodside. They escaped Menchville 2-1. Menchville thought they were going to be right there. Woodside beat Maury 2-0. So I think that was a favorable draw for Nansemond River to get Woodside in the final, not to see Menchville in the final. But, any way you slice it, you got to go through the best of the best. And it worked out for them. And Gloucester beating Jamestown 7-0 last week to win the region championship. We spoke on the show last week with Savannah Putnam of Jamestown. They were so giddy to get into the state tournament, and why not? But Reese Miller, Leah Germain, just a bunch of weapons for that team. Kaylee Hall as well, Cameron McDonough. We've had on Coach Joe Dougherty, and they just have so many weapons. I think it could very well be Gloucester's time. They're going to play host to Atlee. Jamestown's going to travel and take on Powhatan. there. And Norfolk Academy, just so impressive. We'll talk about this with Beanie coming up, and their win 11-0 over Cape Henry in the semifinals, then dusting off Catholic to win the TCIS crown. Just a very, very impressive group. Any way you slice it, it's players all over the place. Betancourt, Purdy, Adams, Mia Jones, they all get it done for that group and Mary Werkheiser's team, which is clicking on all cylinders as they head into the States. I got to think about this earlier before the podcast. Whether you're a Norfolk Academy who's ranked number 1 in America in field hockey by a couple of outlets, Max Preps, Max Field Hockey this year, whether you are Maury in football, who's very, very good, looking like a dominant outfit. You wonder about the pressure. You've beaten so many good teams, quality schedule. You get to the tournament. Could you be tight? I think those teams, and they're not the only two, but they leap to mind, both in the same city and both playing fall sports here, trying to capture championships, one in November here, one in December, both losing in state championship games a year ago, both avenging those losses during the regular season. And we do our On the Hash with Hatfield football podcast on Thursday. There's so many parallels. Now, Maury's a great football team. Don't get me wrong. They're not number 1, number 5 in the country. It's a little harder football to get to that level that Norfolk Academy has done. Nonetheless, both mighty impressive and deserve all the accolades, bouquets of flowers thrown at them, although the football players don't like the flowers like the young ladies do. They prefer other items than bouquets. Point being, as I'm going all over the place here, point being, I feel like there's a level of dominance and an expectation and a standard, and they want to go prove it as they win the championship. And they practice so hard. They're so well drilled by their coaches, Doreen McCain on the football side for Maury and Mary Werkheiser for Norfolk Academy, that it doesn't make you tight and feel like, oh my goodness, are we going to do it? I think they're ready to go accomplish and finish those missions that they set out in the offseason. So that's where we are with those teams. And I don't feel like they're both vulnerable right for the pick. And some people say, oh my goodness, I think some of those folks that feel that way are just overthinking it when it's all said and done. They're not going to be picked off by my estimation. And there are some teams certainly in those brackets that are worthy challengers. Collegiate will likely see Norfolk Academy in its VISAA state final. But if the regular season encounter was any indication, I don't see them avenging that defeat the way Norfolk Academy can really get you going, get it going in transition, and just their passing, their skill work, they're fundamentally sound, speed and just precision all over the place. Maury doesn't have to go through the team they beat already in Highland Springs because Highland Springs went up to Division 6. So there you have it. All right, we're going to take a time out here for some of the sponsors that make it possible for us to do this with you each and every week as the regular season has completed. The playoffs are done for the regionals. Now we're in the state tournament. And coming up next, we got Beanie Schleicher to join us here on the pod to discuss the teams in the tournament. We are down to literally 32 public schools and I think it's 16 private schools. You'll see the brackets visually here on our podcast. Like, share, and subscribe with the Virginia Beach Sportsplex YouTube channel. We'll be back in just a bit right here from the Plex. It's Field Hockey with Hatfield. It's now here from Chicho's Pizza.
It's everybody's favorite time of year again. Time to prepare to make your annual donation to that infernal revenue service. And if you're like me, you need help. Help to keep that donation as small as possible. So get off your W-2 and call John Maynard at John's Tax Service. 455-6763.
After more than 50 years of innovation, AstroTurf still leads the way. The inventor of artificial turf does it all, right here in the USA. We engineer, test, manufacture, and install the world's most innovative fibers and turf technologies, with over 30,000 tracks and fields worldwide. AstroTurf, powered by Sport Group.
They want to win too, right?
Yeah, but they probably don't really know the players. I think it's going to be more fun than competitive for them, but we'll see.
Sure. When you see an all-star game like this, and it's on the screen there, the Cova Sports Senior Field Hockey All-Star Game coming to the Regional Training Center. Mark your calendar, November 15th, 6 o'clock. You'll see a lot of talent and some future stars out there as far as the collegiate levels, and who knows, beyond that perhaps. What are you looking for when you see these matchups? Because it's you get a lot of these. We always see it in different sports, the dream pairings of how would this athlete do against this athlete in different styles. What are you looking for when you watch something like this?
Well, some of these girls I haven't seen play either. Some of them I have seen. We have a lot of levels in this group that we have, but most of them, so myself, and we got recommendations from coaches to try to make our decision. I think it'll be competitive because we split them, I think, pretty well, but all of these girls are quality athletes, so it should be a very, very good game. But since each team has probably 18 field players, there'll be a lot of subbing as well. I'm sure the playing time will probably be equal across the board. I'm sure the coaches will try to do that. I just think it's going to be a highly level competitive game.
We don't see these too often in high school sports. I know it used to be a big deal to have a whole, the Virginia High School Coach Association did it. What do you think about it? I mean, this is something that can grow and happen year after year, don't you think?
Yeah, and based on the interest the girls have shown, the parents have shown, the coaches have shown, I think it's just going to get bigger and better every year. I think it's extremely honoring for them because not always the best players or the all-stars on the team are seniors. Sometimes they're the freshmen, the sophomore, or the juniors. So it's nice they're actually highlighting some of these girls also who maybe aren't the star on their team, but they're good.
Awesome. Well, it's coming up here on November the 15th, the Senior Field Hockey All-Star Game at the Regional Training Center. Make sure you make your plans to go out there and check out the action. It should be a lot of fun coming up at the RTC here. It's Field Hockey with Hatfield as we talk more about the field hockey. And let's start with one of your former standouts you had at First Colonial. She's our Il Giardino Chicken Parm Player of the Week, Grace Dixon. I know you're awful proud of what she's done going to the Ohio State, and it gets the game-winning goal in the region championship game in overtime against Cox. They've beaten the Falcons not once, but twice. And, oh, by the way, if you want to win the state championship, there's a possibility they might have to go through them a third time.
Right. Grace was injured for me her freshman year and played her sophomore year for me. And she's that kind of kid who just works so hard every day, year round to get better and better. And it shows she's going to Ohio State to play on the collegiate level. Grace is also one of our all-stars, obviously. Just really proud of her. She's just a quality kid.
Yeah, and she could certainly walk away with now, do you know this or not? Are there going to be any awards for like MVPs on each side for the All-Star game? Is that something that's been talked about, or do you know by chance? Or
no, not this year.
Okay.
It might be something that we evolve into. It's the first time we've done it.
Sure, gotcha. So it could be something in the future that does take place, and we see some of the scores that took place this past Friday with Nansman River beating Woodside. You also had the TCIS finals where Brooke Betancourt, the Wake Forest commit, was named TCIS tournament MVP. It's funny, I was speaking with someone just the other day, Beanie, that, Brooke Betancourt is headed to Wake Forest. Arguably the best player in the area, could be Tidewater Player of the Year, State Player of the Year for the VISAA. And then you have on her team two players in Lizzie Adams and Joji Purdy, who have already gotten Chicken Parm Player of the Week honors this year. They just have so many weapons at Norfolk Academy. Having watched them, and I've seen, you've had some great teams over the years at FC. Cox has won 5 straight state titles, 24. There's a lot of teams competing here. We've got Gloucester, we've got Tab, we got Pocosa. We'll go through some of them. You do marvel sometimes when you see someone, but just be an individual or a team like Norfolk Academy has this year that's just dominated the way they have. Have you at all been surprised at just how easily they've made it look this year, or did you anticipate them being this great and accelerating it to the point they have?
After watching them last year, who they lost and who they didn't lose, I thought they'd be extremely strong. I did not think the domination would be as extent as it is. I mean, they beat who they lost to in the state final this year. They beat them 7-1. I mean, they're just cruising through. Yeah,
they really are. I mean, it's going to be something else. And we'll look at some of the brackets here and go through some of the tournaments. We'll start in Class 5, where you have the Region A teams that came out with obviously First Colonial and Cox, is all shared on the screen here, and hopefully do this properly here on this edition of the podcast. We'll go through it and get your thoughts, and I'll try to project the winners, and Beanie can tell me how right or wrong I'm going to ultimately be. Hopefully we got this on the screen showing now. So you got the state quarterfinals taking place today. Midlothian, Riverside. Region C champions Midlothian. Riverside is the Region D runner-up. You've got First Colonial hosting Woodside. Nansemond Rivers had a really good year. Allie Dyes has done a nice job with that program. They've got some talent taking on Cox. I think that's a little bit of a tricky game because it is a rematch of the state championship game. Would give the nod to Taylor Roundtree's Falcons there. And then Independence is a program. Sammy Goins got 25 goals this year, Beanie. They're taking on Mills Godwin. So you feel like it's a Cox First Colonial collision course rematch, but I'm watching Independence, and they're, I think, 19-0. They have been really strong. But what do you think of this bracket? Is it a foregone conclusion we get the two Beach Powers again, or could you see someone knocking them off, perhaps in Nansemond River, perhaps in Independence? They could mess this whole thing up for what most fans would love to see and expect to see a Beach Chapter 3 of the two heavyweights.
I think the bottom bracket is probably a little bit tougher than the top bracket. Based on the top bracket, I would say FC for sure. The game that's going to be interesting, though, will be Nansemond River and Cox. They're playing at Nansemond River on turf. And if they have the ability to slow down Cox, that could help them tremendously. But I would probably have to pick Cox, but I wouldn't be surprised either way.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think that's, you got Jordan White and Braden Johnson. You have a bunch of really good players on this Nansemond River team. I think it's a dangerous game for Cox in that first, but you're right. Getting the region championship does give Cox that benefit. Although First Colonial that benefit. If they do run into Cox again, it could be dicey here. So I'm going to take the wild card. I've gone against, I thought FC would lose the first two matchups, but I feel like they're going to find a way here. And I just got a sneaky suspicion Independence undefeated. They look really, really good. I think they could find their way in the championship. The old saying, you never know how good an undefeated team is, and they've scored a bunch of goals this year. Granted, they haven't played the competition, but I've just got a sneaky suspicion we might not get that Chapter 3.
Interesting. I don't think we will either, but It would be cool if they did.
It definitely would be. So let's go to the next. Yeah, go ahead.
Nansemond River from last year's team that lost, I believe, 2-1 in the state final, only lost one player from that team. Good player, but only one player. And they have a lot of really talent that came back and beaten Woodside 10-0. And Woodside was 15-2, I believe, going into that game. Says a lot about them. They have a lot of girls who can score.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see if they get Cox behind. And it's hard to do with Isabel Pardo back there as the goalkeeper for them, how they'll react to that situation being behind in a state playoff game. They don't get behind very often at all. So we shall see. Let's move to another bracket here, locally speaking, and that was with some teams, I should say, locally from Tidewater in competition. We're talking about Class 6, where you have a couple of teams that I think are surprises that got through here. Western Branch, that we thought, and you highlighted it correctly in our preseason show, they would be a team to watch out for. They're the runner-up going to Oakton for a 4 o'clock matchup. Now, Oakton is considered among the top teams. I think Max Preps has them 6th in the state behind Norfolk Academy, Independence, Tab, and Fairfax, as well as FC in their rankings. Battlefield hosting WT Woodson. Grassfield, the champ out of Region 6A, hosting Yorktown, then Fairfax and Stafford. It feels like the Tidewater team is going to have a hard time to get their way to the finals. They will have it in their backyard, obviously, like everybody else with it at Ocean Lakes High School and Kellum High School for the semis and the championship coming up this weekend. But what's your feel in this bracket where I'm thinking right now the favorite to label is Oakton? Do you feel the same way?
I do, but I think I don't think it's going to be a Tidewater final, but I wouldn't say no either. I think there's just there's a parity in this bracket than the other one.
What's different, do you think, about the Class 6 teams in comparison to Class 5 teams? Anything different you would kind of maybe signal out in terms of style of play or personnel? Because it feels like you have the experienced squad there, and there's a couple of newbies on the scene as far as the Class 6 picture goes.
Yeah, I think the 5 teams, particularly the ones that we're talking about, that we think could fall away, are extremely fast and have weapons. Quality weapon. I don't know. I've seen the teams locally play, and they have not fared too well against the teams in terms of Nansemond River FC or Cox. That's the only thing I can go on.
Okay, makes a lot of sense here. So we're breaking it down with Beanie Schleicher here, the former state champion coach herself, here with us on the Field Hockey with the Hatfield podcast. Let's go to Class 4, where I've said we had Joe Dougherty on the show a while back. I like Gloucester to win this thing. They do have Cortland in their bracket, on that side of the bracket, as well as Loudoun County, a couple of pretty established programs. Cortland, I think, is 21-0 on the season, have not lost a game, although Gloucester's been really good at like 16-2. Atlee is a program that's been, on the playoff runs before. And then the bottom half of the bracket, we had on Savannah Putnam last week of Jamestown. They're the surprise story. She's not even 25 years of age. Young coaches on the scene doing well, like her and Megan Smart at FC. You got Powhatan, who's 16-3, going to be hard for Jamestown. Then you got Loudoun Valley and Chancellor at the bottom half of the bracket. I'm going to go here on a limb here. Tell me how wrong I am, Beanie, and you're not going to hurt my feelings if you do. I'm going to go with Chancellor as the surprise to come out of the bottom half of the bracket. And I am going to go with Gloucester to knock off Cortland, who I think most would view as the favorite. And I'm going to go with Gloucester, the Dukes, to represent the 7-5-7 and get it done here. What's your feel on that bracket?
I think you're spot on. In fact, I think Gloucester's going to win all of it. I don't know the other teams as well. I've seen Pocosin play. They're pretty good, but I agree with you. That would be the state final. Yeah,
tell you what, Reese Miller's had a heck of a year. I was just speaking with someone over the weekend, just raving about her skills. Have you watched her play at all?
Yeah, I have. She actually plays this as well, and her older sister plays on my adult club teams. Reese is a very, very good player. They got a lot of good players on Gloucester's team.
They do.
They're very physical.
Yeah, you said they're physical. How much is that a big deal? Is that going to be hard, do you think, for like Loudoun and Cortland and some of those teams to kind of prepare for that? Or I guess, how do you simulate and prepare for that as you go into a state tournament?
Well, I don't know how physical those two teams are that you just mentioned, but they have to be made aware of it so they can keep their head in the game. They don't get carded. They don't start fighting amongst each other, fighting with the refs, and just kind of play their game. That can be difficult to do when you're a teenage girl, though, or just a teenage athlete. At that would be different. It's a state game. A lot's going to be on the same. I think teams that aren't typically intense or aggressive will come out that way. Nansen River is also an aggressive team, intense team. They keep it under control. They don't get many cards, but they are very intense.
Interesting to know. All right, as we finish
Which
up,
I like that.
Yeah, that's going to matter a good deal. I like that. Interesting. Let's go to the last couple brackets here. We got Class 2, then we'll hit on the private schools as well for you here on this edition of Field Hockey with Hatfield, and I'll get that queued up here in a second with the private schools. But we were looking at for Class 3, which also condenses the smaller schools. You got Tab, who's got a chance if they win 3 games here, Beanie, to win 68 straight and be one off the record from Cox's of 69 consecutive wins in the 1990s. Wendy Wilson's got a powerhouse program again, despite graduating a lot of pieces. Here they are, Fauquier. Then they have Western Albemarle and York. York, they know from the Bay Rivers. You also have 2 other Bay Rivers teams in the bottom half of this bracket with Meridian playing Grafton, Pocosin playing Maggie Walker. It feels like we got deja vu again. Pocosin, who I think has been in the last 5 state finals. We had on Darcy Chapese a few weeks back. And obviously, Tab is a favorite. But the one I'm watching out for is Meridian, 19-0 from Falls Church. Much like we've talked about with other teams, I'm not sure how their style of play is going to match up with, say, a Pocosin, dare we see in the semifinals, and possibly, if they got through that, a championship matchup with Tab. What's your feeling on this whole bracket here in Class 3?
Exactly what you're feeling. I don't know their style of play. I definitely think Tab will be the favorite. Possibly Pocosin, but I don't know. Is it Meridian? I don't know their style of play.
Yeah, and for those that don't know, Meridian used to be called George Mason High School. They changed their name a couple years back. So some folks have noticed in years past, they've been really good in girls basketball and in field hockey. So that's one that has got some history on their side. But you like Tab like me to win the whole thing in that bracket.
Yeah, I do. And I talked to Wendy about the All-Star game, and she has, I think, 1 senior this year.
Yeah, I think it's Mika Hilberger, right? She's like the lone senior on the team.
I can't remember.
I think that's the name. Yeah, but
yeah,
it's remarkable what they've done this year. And I feel like, and I've said this all year long on the pod, how about you? They're being slept on to a degree because on that side of the water, you don't have as many of the powers from the beach and Norfolk Academy, what they've done nationally. So I feel like they've been kind of undersold all year long, even though they've done it with a bunch of new faces. To have this type of run, 68 straight wins, it's remarkable.
Yeah, it is remarkable. And Wendy tries to do the best she can with her schedule, where she's based on her location. But I just pulled up the senior goalie, Libby Yates from Tab, and Corinne Lombardi.
Okay, so that's the lone senior. How about that? That's just something else here. So as we finish up here with the last bracket, and I'm going to pull it up here and share the screen properly, I hope, on our Field Hockey with Hatfield. And we thank Beanie Schleicher for giving us so much time here today as we go through the bracket. I think the VISAA's got the fall pages here. Just have to do a couple clicks, and we'll be right there with it for you for the field hockey state tournament coming up for the VISAA. All right, we've got it now. Actually, you have the triple bracket, so we'll share it this way for you as we conclude it and go through the three divisions for VISAA Division 1, 2, and 3 and combine it here to save some time with you out there. Let's look at it here quickly. Norfolk Academy's got Bishop O'Connell, St. Anne's Belfield against St. Catherine's, Trinity Episcopal Catholic. Catholics had a nice year. Paul VI and Collegiate. Are we probably headed for a Collegiate Norfolk Academy rematch? And I watched that game where Adams and Purdy took over. It's going to be hard to beat them. Norfolk Academy pretty much is the hands down favorite. We'd be stunned if they lose. Would you not?
100%. I do think Richmond will get there as well.
Okay, so you do like Collegiate to make it out. And then okay. How about Division 2? It's Walsingham, Fredericksburg Christian. You like Walsingham Academy there?
I don't know.
I don't know. Academy, Highland
about that.
Academy. Yeah, it seems like that's a little more wide open, although Walsingham might have the inside track, correct?
Right.
Okay. And then our last part here for division, well, that's it, just those two, because you don't have a Division 3, because I know a lot of the basketballs have the 1 and 2. So there you go. That covers the bracket there. So any final thoughts here as we've got the tournaments winding down here for the VISAA and VHSL? We got a chance to see about 4 or 5 teams right there playing for state championships from the 757, do we not?
Yeah. I think the quarterfinals, except for Cox, Anson River, I think are going to be potentially lopsided. I think the semifinals and the final will have a lot more parity. So those games will probably be really exciting.
But should be a lot of fun.
Unfortunately, they're all over the place.
Yeah. Well, it should be a lot of fun. I'm disappointed I'm going to miss a lot of it because I'll be making a trip to Muncie, Indiana. I've got ODU basketball to pinch hit for Ted Alexander on the radio call of that, and then I've got a game in Arkansas on Monday. But I'll be looking forward to finding out who will hoist state championship trophies this weekend, and we'll hopefully get on a couple of coaches next week and also talk more about the All-Star game coming up. Beanie Schleicher, thank you so much for your time. Enjoy the game later today, and we'll chat again soon.
Thanks, Matt. Bye.
This is the one and only Beanie Schleicher with us here, and we're going to take a time out here from some more of our sponsors and supporters at the Plex. It's coming your way. Don't go anywhere right here with Field Hockey with Hatfield. Stay tuned.
At CHKD, sports medicine is more than just treating injuries. It's a whole team approach to caring for young athletes. With experienced physicians, surgeons, trainers, and rehab specialists here when kids and teens need them most. Our experts help young athletes prevent injuries too, with advanced training and conditioning programs that keep them in the game safely. CHKD Sports Medicine, where kids are more than patients and we're more than a hospital.
Treat yourself to a visit to the Drip Bar IV Hydration and Vitamin Therapy in Virginia Beach. Boost your immunity, increase your energy, and promote anti-aging with our personalized treatments designed to ensure efficient nutrition absorption to rejuvenate your mind and body. Come see our chic and relaxing day spa for yourself today. We welcome walk-ins and appointments. Our medical professionals will help you achieve your best health and answer all your questions. The Drip Bar at Lansdowne Commons in Virginia Beach.
Okay, who here has reached peak fall?
Peak what?
Peak fall!
I am wearing plaid.
And I'm wearing a cardigan.
I guess I am eating snickerdoodle cookie dough.
And I am eating a pumpkin pie blizzard.
The new DQ Fall Blizzard menu has reached peak fall. Pumpkin pie, snickerdoodle cookie dough, and more. They are back!
I just love fall.
Apparently we all do.
Oh, they did it! Peak fall achieved! DQ, happy tastes good.
able to carve out the last several days because, like I said, I've got basketball coming up after some playoff football this weekend as I'll be traveling by plane, not by bus, not by car. It'll be by plane. And we'll probably try to effort that for some time around, who knows, Wednesday, Thursday of next week. We might double it up with the football podcast. We'll see how it goes. But again, like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're always taking good feedback from our great, loyal listeners and viewers out there. And enjoy the games. So many great ones coming up here. And again, don't forget about the Ring of Honor coming up. It is going to be on the 14th is the Ring of Honor. The 15th you have is the All-Star Game. So make sure you go check out all of that great stuff going on with the folks at the training center. November the 14th, next Tuesday, is the Ring of Honor. Let me get the date straight here. Next Tuesday, November 14th, Ring of Honor. Next Wednesday, November 15th, is the Cova Sports Senior Field Hockey All-Star Game. So get a chance to check that out. And we will do it again with you all coming up from the training center right here with our friends from Hometown Sports Productions. Have a great one, everyone. Talk to you again.